Alright guys, this is my copy of Sonic Superstars, just picked it up, cannot wait to get home and play this thing. This is my copy of Sonic Superstars, and I have finished playing it. Just 1 week ago, it was fair to say the hype for Sonic Superstars was pretty high. Everyone was stoked for the potential that this game had. Classic Sonic gameplay but with a new modern look? Heck yes! The return of seemingly forgotten characters with entirely new ones to boot? Oh yeah. A collab with the biggest toy company on the face of the earth? Random, but still pretty cool. I remember watching the reveal trailer for the first time earlier this summer thinking, wow, they're bringing back 2D Sonic? I'm really excited for this. 4 months later, and now I'm considering therapy. My wallet has a hole $60 deeper, and the Sonic fan in me just got sucker punched by a cannonball. Except, turns out it's not a cannonball, it's actually an entire tactical missile strike. Disappointment is not a strong enough word to describe how I'm feeling. It's more like the brutal, heartless betrayal of a best friend or something. My faith in Sonic Team has never been this low. Not with Forces, or Colors Ultimate, or shoot, even Sonic 06. Am I overreacting? No, I'm not. I'm Lemon Cake Studios, and today we're going to take a look at why Sonic Superstars is such a failure of a game and why I believe it is a complete waste of your money. Let's jump right into it. Okay, let's slow down for a second. Before we can figure out what Sonic Superstars gets wrong, we first need to understand what it actually was supposed to get right. What's the standard here? What was it supposed to live up to? This is the standard. Sonic Mania is the classic Sonic experience. It hits the nail on the head in every way, in every possible area. Fluid physics, diverse and enticing playable characters, unmatched level design, and a beautiful art direction to top it all off. Classic Sonic gameplay at its finest. And all for the rock bottom price of $20 US. And I'm not the only one who holds this game in such high regard. An 87 on Metacritic, several nominations for awards at IMDb, and of course, the #1 spot on Nathaniel Bandy's Sonic Games tier list. Mania is widely considered to be one of the greatest 2D platformers of all time, and easily the greatest 2D Sonic game, period. It's undeniable that this was the title Sonic Superstars needed to live up to. At least in my opinion, in order to justify its existence, Superstars needed to be at least at or above Mania's level in the following categories. Movement, how well momentum and physics play into gameplay and allow you to build and utilize your speed. Playable characters, how unique they are from each other and whether they give you a new experience when playing with each one. Levels, how interesting they feel to play, whether they give you enough incentive to explore and master them, and their overall aesthetics and creativity. And finally, price. Remember, Sonic Superstars costs 3 times as much as Mania does, so in order for it to feel worth this sky-high price for a 2D platformer, it had better have a lot of quality content to offer that makes you feel you're getting your money's worth. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's get right into our first topic, movement. This is something I'll say without a shadow of a doubt that Superstars did in fact nail. When people originally heard that Superstars was going to be a modern take on classic Sonic gameplay, they were a little concerned as to what the quality of the physics engine would end up being. Because if your Sonic game has a bad physics engine, it's already beyond saving, as seen in Sonic the Hedgehog 4 and Sonic Forces, which to this day still live in infamy for their poor execution of momentum-informed gameplay. Thankfully, I have no complaints regarding the final product of Superstars physics. They feel fluid and realistic, allowing the build and release of momentum just as well as any other classic Sonic game. In this area, Superstars is on par with Mania. Characters feel just as great to move, speed can be built just as well, and everything functions beautifully. But speaking of the characters, let's take a closer look at them. This is a topic on which I've already talked about extensively in another video, but I hold the playable character system of Sonic Mania in the highest regard. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it here. I recommend you go check out that video if you want a more in-depth version, but here it is in a nutshell. All the characters have their own special movesets, each brings variety to the gameplay, and no one obsoletes the others. For example, while Tails and Knuckles are both exploration-focused characters, they go about performing the exploration itself in very different ways. Tails with his slow but unrestricted air mobility, and Knuckles with his faster but more limiting aerial control. This is another way in which Superstars pretty much hits the bullseye. All the characters, for the most part, follow that ideology of being different enough to feel fresh with each playthrough. And actually, Superstars went the extra mile of improving a character that previously didn't meet that expectation. Amy Rose. I love how they reworked her here. In Sonic Origins, there wasn't anything really valuable to her playstyle. She was far too similar to Sonic, utilizing a slightly different insta-shield and an overall worse version of the drop dash. Superstars retooled her moveset to include more platforming-related abilities, namely her double jump. This alone makes a world of difference in giving her playstyle more variety and honestly makes her one of my favorite characters to play as. And in addition to the 4 original classic Sonic characters, Superstars brings one more to the table, an extra unlockable for beating the game. Trip, the weird, spiky armadillo dragon thing. Honestly, there's nothing special about her. She suffers from the same problems that Origins Amy did, in that she isn't different enough from the others to really feel of any value. She copies Amy's double jump hammer charge, but nothing happens when you land on the ground. Instead, she takes a page out of Knuckles' book and uses her spiky, donut-shaped self, yeah, I don't know what their design choice was here, to climb walls. And ceilings, I guess, but there's not as much of a use for that. Overall, her double jump isn't really any different from Amy, so there isn't any variety there, and her wall climbing, while it is faster than Knuckles, actually ends up being less versatile because she can't glide off walls like he can. Also, a weird design choice was to remove the elemental shields entirely. I mean, this doesn't make much of a difference for most of the cast, but Sonic definitely suffers from it. In my opinion, it severely hinders his versatility and leaves him feeling like a dumbed-down version of everyone else, at least in regards to raw platforming. But a change Superstars made that I am a fan of is the ability to choose any character you want at any given time, provided you aren't in the middle of a level. I like this because it can give an incredible amount of variety to a single playthrough and allow you to experience everything the game has to offer without dedicating a full game run to everybody. However, that's also a bit of a double-edged sword, because the depth of mastering each character and the whole point of replayability in the first place is kinda mitigated. Also, it completely neutralizes the motivation to play Trip Story, which you unlock after beating the main game, because you can just go back to your old save file and use her in any level you want from the get-go. Also, a side note, while both Superstars and Mania end up having the same number of playable characters, I do prefer Mania's cast. While I would say Amy is a better overall character than Mighty, Ray is an infinitely better character than Trip. And so the Mania team kinda wins out overall. While Superstar's playable character system does function generally the same as Mania's, as I said, there are a few small caveats and imperfections that drag it to an inferior position in my opinion. So far, you're probably thinking, wow, for how much you've made it seem like you hate this game in the video's intro, you've really only had nice things to say for the most part. Well, guess what? You've just jinxed it, because from here on out, I pretty much have nothing else to praise the game for. It's time to talk about the area in which Sonic Superstars falls flat on its face in every way imaginable. The levels. Sonic levels are known for being displays of exhilarating beauty, fascinating and unique art directions, level design that rewards both unrelenting speed and more focused platforming, while also catering to the kleptomaniac in every player by providing a plethora of secrets awaiting your discovery at every turn. Mania is the embodiment of this. All, and I mean all, of its levels cater to this philosophy to a T. And the best thing, even when the level designs and themes aren't borrowing from over 30 years of Sonic history, they still manage to be some of the best and most original the franchise has to offer. Press Garden is a breathtaking sight, elegantly blending the polar opposite vibes of lush, fragrant nature with the industrial corporateness of a printing factory. I don't know whose idea that was, but somehow, it works beautifully. As another example, Mirage Salute has an incredible flow state to its level gimmicks, and is one of the most fun Sonic levels to replay, period. Mania's levels are undoubtedly the best thing about it. Superstars are undoubtedly the worst. What the heck happened here? First, we need to address the level aesthetics themselves. Did Sonic Team assassinate the level artist from the previous games? Where the heck did all the creativity go? On the whole, I'm not opposed to the intent behind Sonic Superstars' art style. Creating modern, 3D versions of classic sprite-based characters can look solid when done right, as seen in the new Super Mario Bros. Games and the Sonic franchise itself with Sonic Generations. But here, they have managed to suck all the life out of everything. Characters' non-gameplay animations often look stiff and uncanny, the Badniks float around like they're attached to the background, and Eggman looks like a rubber squeaky toy that someone put in a plastic robot suit. On the whole, Superstars just reminds me more of a low-budget 3D children's cartoon than anything else. It's like Cocomelon made a Sonic game. What is this? Although, that's not really helped by the level themes themselves. Right at the moment the Mario franchise dropped the use of generic level themes, Sonic decided to adopt them. Gone are the unique locales we've seen from the previous games. You like the look of a mysterious sandy temple? Guess what? We got rid of everything but the sand. You thought an abandoned underwater civilization filled with tall, spiraling water slides was breathtaking? We just filled it with more sand and made all the slides flat. Every single level trope here is either a bland adaptation of some real-world biome or a worse version of something we've seen from a previous Sonic game. Frozen Base, real-world biome. Egg Fortress, worst Death Egg Zone. Sand Sanctuary, just a normal desert. Bridge Zone, 2D knockoff of Emerald Coast. Press Factory, less intimidating Scrap Brain Zone. Pinball Carnival, just a more boring carnival night. Collision Chaos, Casino Night, take your pick. I do want to give a shout out to both Golden Capital and Cyberstation though, because they do create unique, never before seen level aesthetics, and they're actually pretty cool. But I mean, 2 out of 11 is still a pretty weak showing. And at the end of the day, how it looks doesn't even really matter because all the level designs suck anyway. I do need to admit though, this is not a unique struggle of Sonic Superstars. Ever since its conception, Sonic has had some pretty poorly designed and unfun levels. Some that come to mind are Labyrinth Zone, Metropolis Zone, and Sandopolis Zone, and while none of Superstars' levels are nearly as painful as those, there's nothing really special about them either. And it's not like Sonic CD where the levels seem random and confusing, everything flows together fine and makes sense, and yet, it's really just boring. I can't feel any passion in these levels. And it's hard to describe because at the end of the day, all this really comes down to opinion, but honestly, I don't think these levels feel all that great to play at all. I don't feel rewarded for passing a certain challenge or pulling off a cool stunt. The level design doesn't feel rewarding to master in the first place. And that's the most important thing of a platforming game. It doesn't matter if your playable characters are cool, which Superstars are, or if your levels look great, which Superstars don't. At the end of the day, if your levels don't intrigue the player enough to enjoy experiencing them, you failed to create a good game. Despite its catchphrase, Sonic Superstars isn't fun. But the problems don't end there. There are so many more nitpicks I have here. First, this game runs pretty shoddy for something coming out of a AAA company. Insane lagging in the menus, load times that give Sonic 06 a run for its money, stuttering and random moments of lag during gameplay, especially for Supersonic. And while we're on the topic of performance, I might as well mention glitches. This is far from the worst offender here. Don't worry, it doesn't even begin to compare with Sonic Colors Ultimate. But I still found my fair share of minor bugs. Knuckles' model being displaced in multiplayer mode when entering a tube, a death plane in the sky. The music track completely broke here in Golden Capital. And actually, the worst glitch also came from Golden Capital as well. The game straight up crashing. Sonic 06 can't even claim to do that. And it was right when I was about to get my last Chaos Emerald too. I had to replay the entire level twice to get back to that same spot. Actually, now that I mention the Chaos Emeralds, it's a good time to talk about how they were implemented in this title. This was definitely one of the focuses of the pre-release trailers. In Sonic Superstars, the player gets a special in-game ability for every Chaos Emerald they collect. This is much different than the other classic Sonic games, where the individual emeralds don't really do anything until you've collected them all. I'm gonna be honest, this was a cool addition, but it did feel slightly undercooked. Most of the emerald powers are more gimmicky than anything else, not really adding much to the overall gameplay. Not to mention, the emerald power selection menu is really flawed, because for some reason, it doesn't suspend the game. This needs to be fixed. I was always scared to use it during the middle of a tense moment because it takes away so much of your attention and you can no longer focus on the main gameplay. It feels very awkward in this regard. But back to the inclusion of the Chaos Emeralds themselves. If you've ever played a classic Sonic game before, you probably have an idea on how you're going to collect them. Of course, they're hidden away in giant rings. Throughout all the main levels, there are several of these things stashed away in secret locations. Well, the word secret might actually be a stretch. I don't know what it is, but something seemed off about the giant ring placement in Superstars. Nothing was hidden nearly as well as in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and it seemed kinda dumbed down for less skilled players to have an easier time finding them. I hate this. The whole point of extra collectibles is to cater to an audience that wants a more challenging experience, not to give away everything the game has to offer for free. And the special stages themselves follow that exact same line of thinking. These were hands down the easiest Sonic special stages I have ever attempted. If these stages are like 6th grade level homework, the half-pipe is being drafted into the Vietnam War. Apart from the Green Emerald, I got every single one on the first try, and they all played out exactly the same as the others. No variety, no challenge, nothing. Ironically, the better special stages were the ones you came across for simply passing a checkpoint with a certain number of rings. This is the only part of the game that I will say I loved in its entirety, which is ironic because it's based on the sucky, nauseating special stages from Sonic 1. All they changed was giving the player mid-air control, and it made a world of difference. These are so much fun, honestly giving Blue Spheres pretty decent competition as to which is my favorite. They're simple enough, navigating Sonic to the end of a corridor without touching the evil wormholes of death, but I mean, they were still fun. But what do you get for completing a special stage? Actually, what collectibles are there even in this game besides the Chaos Emeralds? Well, taking a page out of Origin's book, you get coins, of course. And what do the coins buy? Customizability for the battle mode. At first, I thought this was a really cool system. Even if the levels were bad, at least you get rewarded for playing well in them, collecting high ring counts, exploring, etc. And the items you can buy in the shop are also pretty great. Metal versions of all the characters that you can mix and match their colors and accessories. See? Here's mine. We got Metal Sonic's head, Tails' body, the Knuckles' hands just because they look super dope, and Sonic's shoes because we gotta go fast, am I right? Also, for the paint job, I kinda had to choose yellow because, well, you know. And the battle mode is just alright. Kinda hard to play sometimes as there is a bit of input lag, seemingly even in the offline mode, which makes no sense. But the mini-games themselves are fun enough. The battle where you shoot electricity at each other wasn't explained very well in-game, and the Star Chases thing wasn't anything special, but the racing part was cool. Getting to compete online and stuff like this is something I've wanted to do for a while. Kinda wish you could just choose to race, but oh well, because I won't be revisiting this much anyway. The prices for the customizable items in the shop are super expensive, and as I said, the levels themselves aren't fun enough to warrant revisiting to grind them out. The battle mode wasn't super entertaining or anything, which was especially sad for me because I hoped that would be the thing to save this game. And I mean, that's really it. Sonic Superstars has nothing else to offer. Neither quantity nor quality was present this time around, and that leads us into the last topic we need to address, pricing. There isn't anything defending the $60 price tag attached to this pathetically nothing video game. It only adds insult to injury. It's not like Origins or Colors Ultimate where you only paid $40 for a slightly disappointing final product. You paid the price of a full-on, first-party Switch title. Instead of this, you could have gotten Super Mario Bros. Wonder, a game that hasn't even been out for a week and is already receiving incredible reviews. You could have gotten Metroid Dread, another 2D platformer that's widely considered to be one of the best in its series. Breath of the Wild, Super Smash Bros., Super Mario Odyssey, even Sonic Frontiers justifies its price. $60 can get you a lot of things, but you know what 1/3 of that can get you? For a mere $20 of your precious savings, you can pick up Sonic Mania, a game with simplistic but stunning visuals, fast and exciting gameplay, infinite replayability, often rivaling the runtime of its more expensive competition, and just plain fun. Something Sonic Superstars can never give you. To wrap up this video, I can't more strongly recommend that you stay away from this game, no matter how much of a Sonic fan you are. It's not worth your attention, it's not worth your money, and it is most definitely not worth your time. I hope you guys found this video educational. I hope you all are having a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.